Since the N64, I've pretty much been there on day one for every Nintendo system. And after a week with the Nintendo Switch 2, it's the most fun that I've had with any system from the very beginning. But that being said, looking at things objectively, was it truly worth getting on day one? After all I keep hearing people say is that it only launched with Mario Kart and a bunch of old games. Well, we're going to talk about that launch lineup, the Switch 2's most underrated but best feature, the future, and more in just a second. But first, let's talk about the system itself. What's up, everyone? This is Justin. Welcome to Just Keep Playing. Please join me today as we talk about 1 week with the Nintendo Switch 2 and if it was worth getting from day one. Now, I think that most would agree with me that the Switch 2, the system in and of itself, was literally everything that we wanted it to be. I know it was everything that I wanted it to be. A bigger, better, badder, beefier Switch. And that's what we got. We got the Switch, but better. We got better Joy-Cons, the mouse mode that you're able to do with those, that is a game changer. We got a better Pro controller. That thing just feels so good. It just melts in your hands like butter. The screen is awesome. Is it better than an OLED? Probably not, but it's still really good, and everything just looks so good on that screen where it makes you want to play it in handheld even more. The system itself just feels good to hold. It has a weight and a heft to it, but it's not like crazy heavy, but it just feels good to hold. And playing it in handheld mode, you don't feel like you're missing out on something when you get to an epic part in the game. We've got voice chat finally right out of the box. Game share, it's such a cool feature to have. NSO was good to go from day one, and we got GameCube on day one as well. And getting to go back and play a game like one of my favorite fighting games of all time in Soul Calibur 2, being able to play Zelda, Wind Waker, games like that, just having that available from day one, that's awesome. And then even the integration finally with the Nintendo Switch app, where pictures and videos that you take just automatically load up to there, making it easier to share the games that you're playing with your friends online. And just from the off rip, from day one, the Nintendo Switch 2 is just the most feature-rich, feature-complete system that Nintendo has ever had from day one. It's a pretty powerful system for a hybrid. Yes, it's not more powerful than the Xbox Series X or PS5, but it doesn't need to be. It doesn't have to be. Just when you look at your game, when you see your game, does it look comparable to what you got on those systems? And yes, the games look comparable. The games look really good. This is by far the most power that Nintendo and their developers have ever had at their hands to work with, and that alone is just super exciting and something worth looking forward to. But what good are all these features and this power without games? So let's talk about this day one launch lineup. But before we get to the games, if you're enjoying this video, if you're loving your Switch 2, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button and join me as we take this Nintendo Switch 2 brand new generation journey together. All right, let's get to the games. Now, on the first party side of things, the big game that we all know about is Mario Kart World. And now Mario Kart World, it may not be as mind-blowing as playing Super Mario 64 for the first time, or as game-changing as the motion controls in Wii Sports, but my goodness, it just might be the most fun launch game that Nintendo has ever made. I've played so much Mario Kart World since it's come out, that I dream Mario Kart World. When I close my eyes and I lay down to sleep, I'm seeing Mario Kart World in my head. That game, when I talked about how much fun I've had with the Switch 2, large majority of that is because of Mario Kart World. The knockout mode, that is the standout star of the show. It just stole the show in Mario Kart World. That knockout mode is just so much fun. It's so exciting. It's the mode that's going to keep me coming back to Mario Kart World over and over and over throughout the years. Game's soundtrack is one of the best soundtracks that Nintendo has ever composed. There's been times where I've been driving in free roam mode, and then I just hear a song and I just have to stop and just chill and just listen to the music. The music in the game is just so good. And Rainbow Road, if you have not seen it yet, do yourself a favor. Mute Rainbow Road on all social media platforms. Do not look it up on YouTube. Don't look it up anywhere. You need to experience that for yourself without having seen anything from it beforehand. Witnessing that Rainbow Road for the first time, everything that led up to it, how you got to it, and then just racing on the track, everything about it was just so, I said wow so many times during that track. It might be the best track that I've ever played in a Mario Kart game. It's definitely, I can say it right now, it is my favorite Rainbow Road, and that experience alone made Mario Kart World worth it for me. Now, Mario Kart World is the sole, huge, big, brand new game from Nintendo on the Nintendo Switch 2. And that's been a cause for some people to say that the launch lineup is lacking, and I do not agree with that at all. Nintendo's strategy from the original Switch of having at least one big game a month, especially for that first year, to me, that is the best way to go, and it's just proven to work. So yes, it would have been nice. It would have been cool to have like a big single player adventure game to sit down and play on day one. We do have Donkey Kong Bonanza that's right around the corner, so we don't have to wait long until we get that big single player adventure game from Nintendo. In the meantime, Nintendo has truly taken advantage of what to me is the Nintendo Switch 2's best and most underrated feature, but we are going to get to that in 1 second. Well, not 1 second. We're going to get to that in a little bit. So just hold tight and stick around, and let's talk about how the third parties really helped fill in the gaps for Nintendo on the Nintendo Switch 2. And let me know what you think about Mario Kart World in the comments. Let me know how much fun you've been having with that game. So the third parties came through in a big way for Nintendo to help flesh out that day one launch lineup for the Switch 2. We may not have gotten that big, meaty, solo single player adventure from Nintendo, but from the third parties, we got games like Cyberpunk, Bravely Default, Rune Factory, Guardians of Azuma, Fantasy Life, Yakuza 0, Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess. All just these really good adventure, action adventure, or RPG type games that you can just sit down with and just have just a nice long play session and get engrossed and involved in the cool story. And then on top of that, you had your games like Split Fiction and Street Fighter 6, the new Deltarune, Fast Fusion. Just an incredible variety of really good games that we had to choose from on day one. But Justin, most of these third-party games are already available on other platforms. These games are old. Where are the new games? And I get that. You get a brand new system, you want to be able to experience brand new games. And there are a few brand new games amongst those third-party games. Games like Fast Fusion, Fantasy Life, The Girl Who Steals Time, Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, Deltarune Chapters 3 and 4. Those are some really good games right there. And even a game like Split Fiction, that game just came out this year, and it is a Game of the Year contender type of game, and it's not that far removed from it. So it still can be a brand new game for people that not everybody has been able to get to it yet. And then even games like Cyberpunk, that is a game that's built for multiple playthroughs to do a different style of character and do a different build, and just being able to have that cross save where you can go from your PC version or PS5 version or whatever and then pick it right up on the Switch 2 version. To me, that's really cool. And hey, I did a whole video of why I think that Cyberpunk 2077 is a bit of a killer app for the Switch 2. So you can check out that video. I'll leave a link in the comments. And then even games like Street Fighter 6. Street Fighter has always had a home on Nintendo platforms, and it's just really good. It's really cool to see mainline Street Fighter back on a Nintendo system. And even with a lot of these games, the best-selling one of them is Cyberpunk, which has sold a ton of copies. The rest of them, some of them have sold pretty well, but there's still a lot of people who have not played those games. So for many people, and many people that probably picked up a Switch 2, these are brand new games, brand new experiences for them to have. So to me, that definitely adds so much value to the launch lineup and made it worth getting the Nintendo Switch 2 on day one. And to me, the games have been great, but they have also come with a ton of controversy. So yes, we need to address this controversy real quick. So let's talk about these controversies and if they may have dampened a bit of the excitement of getting the Switch 2 on day one. So yes, the games have been great, but they have come with quite a bit of controversy. The two main controversial points and topics surrounding the Switch 2 have centered around the price of the system, the price of Mario Kart coming in at that $80, and the whole game key card situation. So let's address these. The price of the system itself, it definitely came in at a higher price point than most were expecting when coming in at that $450 US, and then $500 for the bundle with Mario Kart. I know most were expecting or hoping for that $400 price, but yes, it was a little bit more than what we were expecting, but overall, I feel that the Switch is an incredible value. The Switch 2 is an incredible value for what you're getting out of the box. That $450, it comes with the dock. You get the Joy-Cons and just all the tech that's going on inside of there and what it's able to do versus what other hybrid or PC handheld type devices are able to do. What you're getting out of the box, that $450 or $500 USD with a game, to me, seems more than reasonable. And then there's the cost of Mario Kart coming in at the crazy sticker shock price of $80. And I'm on record as saying I am not a fan. I do not like the $80 price tag. In my opinion, there didn't seem to be any justified reason for why Nintendo made the jump to that $80. But at the end of the day, I am glad that they at least gave an option for the bundle where you could get the game for $50 digitally. That's the route that I went, so I didn't spend $80 on Mario Kart. But I do think at the end of the day, is the game worth $80? That's subjective, and that's going to depend on each person. But I do think at the end of the day, you are going to get your money's worth out of the game. This is a game that we're going to be playing for close to the next decade or so. So there are going to be countless hours, days, months, years being spent playing Mario Kart World, and hours and years and months worth of memories that will be made being played Mario Kart World, where I think come the end of the Switch 2's life, and especially with probably most likely all of the future updates that are to come, we'll just look back on the time that we spent playing Mario Kart World and not really thinking about the price that we paid for it. Still doesn't justify it, still don't love it, but it is what it is. And then there's the whole debacle of the game key cards, where you got your pure collectors that have thrown the collective fist up at the mere thought and idea of the game key cards. Then you have people like me that, while we don't prefer it, we're like, okay, hey, it is what it is. I'm not going to not play a game because of it. And then you have the people that are like, hey, whatever, I'm all digital anyway. At the end of the day, even though it's not my preferred option, if that's what it takes to have a quotation marks physical-esque version of a game rather than it being just a code in the box or just digital, I would take a game key card over those options. And for me, it wasn't enough to dampen my excitement for the Switch 2. So we're able to look past some of these controversies, right? But what about, where's the innovation? Nintendo's always the one that comes up with something crazy new for their next system, right? That's what you keep hearing people say. This is just an iterative system. So is the lack of innovation enough to dampen the hype and excitement and make the Switch 2 less worth it on day one? Well, let's talk about innovation. So innovation, more than any of the other platform holders, it seems like Nintendo is beholden to this standard where they, each and every time they come out with a new product, that it has to completely reinvent the wheel and come up with some kind of random innovation just for innovation's sake, because they're the ones that have to do the crazy, unique, and creative stuff. But when it comes to the Switch 2, I think pretty much most people, everyone wanted from the next Switch is for it to be a bigger, badder, better, beefier, more capable Switch. And that's what we got. But that's not to say that the Switch 2 doesn't have any innovations within it. It has things like the DLSS technology that allows it to punch far above its weight class and display games that look on par. Like, they don't necessarily look exactly like what the games on PS5 may look like, but it it's comparable and it's on par. And in some cases, it is looking better than, say, like the Xbox Series S version of games. So to have that in a little hybrid handheld, that is impressive technology and innovative use of the DLSS technology. And then even within the Joy-Cons themselves, the way that the mouse mode is able to be implemented, that in and of itself is a game changer and innovative use of the mouse mode. Being able to play a game with the Joy-Cons and then just turn the one Joy-Con to its side like that, and then it just automatically knows that you're implementing that mouse mode, that is really cool. I wish that Cyberpunk implemented that rather than having to choose between different modes. But a game like Rune Factory, where you're able to play in a normal way, and then when you go into the farming mode, you can just turn it on the side and click the button in, and then now you get to use the mouse mode. It makes doing all of the town building and farming stuff, it just makes it so much more precise and takes it to another level. And then once you're done with that, you're able to just pick it up and then just go right back into playing the dual analog stick mode like you would normally play. To me, that is like a super cool use of this technology, and it's something that can be implemented in pretty much every game that could use it because you have access to it right outside of the box. It's not an accessory that you use. It's available right there in the Joy-Con. So that to me is the way that you use innovation and not have to completely reinvent the wheel every time. And just even what you're able to do in a game like Drag and Drive, where you can use both Joy-Cons to control a wheelchair, where it feels like you're doing that. Like no other system has the controller where you could do something like that. So I think it's perfectly fine for the innovation and the super crazy unique stuff to happen in the software, where you have your games like Ring Fit Adventure, where it makes that innovative use of using the Joy-Con and then that ring that you would use. Let the software bring forth the crazy ideas, where instead of alienating all of the different developers and even other consumers because you came up with some crazy control scheme that only Nintendo is able to use to its fullest potential. So in my opinion, there's more than enough innovation with the use of things like DLSS and the new mouse mode in the Joy-Cons to make there be enough difference between the original Switch and the Switch 2 to make it more than worth it from day one. But there is one feature almost more than anything that to me is the perfect, most underrated feature, that even if you are unsatisfied and unhappy with all of the other things we talked about, the launch lineup from Nintendo and third parties, the system itself, all of the controversies from the price to the game key cards to whether or not you think there's enough innovation with the use of DLSS in the mouse mode. There's one mode that if you don't like any of those other things, there is this one feature that to me makes it more than worth it to have the Switch 2 from day one. And that is the way that backwards compatibility has been implemented on the Switch 2. Backwards compatibility on the Switch 2 is amazing. If you, for whatever reason, missed out on the original Switch generation, or if you have a crazy backlog of games from the Switch generation, then the backwards compatibility of the Switch 2 more than makes the Switch 2 worth having from day one. With the Switch 2, you instantly have one of the greatest libraries available to you from day one. And definitely you have one of the greatest libraries of exclusive games, exclusive first party games that any system has ever seen. And now those games perform, run, look how they were envisioned to from the get-go. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, two of the greatest games of all time, in my opinion, are now even better than they were before. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet finally live up to the potential that they displayed on the original Switch, but were hampered by all of the bugs and performance issues. They just dropped a huge update for Splatoon 3, and now that is taken to the next level. Third-party games are looking and performing and running better than they did on the OG Switch, especially for the ones with the uncapped frame rate. One of the games that I immediately had to put in and test out was one of my favorite games from the launch year of the original Nintendo Switch, and that was Doom 2016. It was already a really good game and one of the original Impossible ports, but now it plays so much better on the Nintendo Switch 2. And the list can just keep going. It goes on and on and on. There are games that just automatically get a bump just because of the way that they do the backwards compatibility, where it being somewhat hardware and emulation. So those games that have the uncapped frame rate, or if they were supposed to target say 30, now they run at that consistent 30, or they hit the uncapped frame rate that they were going for. Then you have the games that were specifically patched and updated and upgraded with a free upgrade, and now those games are playing even better than they did before, with games like Echoes of Wisdom, Link's Awakening, Scarlet and Violet, like I mentioned before. And then you have the games that take it to a whole nother level with the Switch 2 editions, with your games like the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, the upcoming Metroid Prime 4, and Pokemon Legends ZA, where those will be the definitive versions where you will want to play those games on the Switch 2. So if you already have a stacked library of original Switch games, many that are in your backlog, or if you skipped the Switch generation, the backwards compatibility with the original Switch lineup library of games, that in and of itself makes it worth getting the Switch 2 from day one. But there's one more reason why, to me and in my opinion, the Switch 2 was more than worth getting from day one, and that is the promise of the future. In my opinion, the future of the Nintendo Switch 2, the promise of the future, is nothing but bright. Yes, it would have been nice to have that big single player adventure game available on day one from Nintendo. But we already knew that coming up just a little over a month after the Switch 2 comes out, that we were going to have Donkey Kong Bonanza in our hands available soon. So to me, it was like, I don't need to wait for Donkey Kong Bonanza to come out because I already know that I'm going to want that. But in the meantime, I'll be able to have a blast playing Mario Kart World and a variety of third-party games and exploring my backlog of Switch 1 games until Donkey Kong Bonanza comes out. And then there's the fact that Nintendo is continuing on with the lessons that they learned from the original Switch, where we are pretty much going to have one big exclusive, at least one big exclusive game every month or so dropping on the Nintendo Switch 2. So just even for the rest of this year, and we're in June now, so we're halfway through the year, and we already know, without having had any future directs to go from, we already know coming up that we have Pokemon Legends ZA, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, Kirby Air Riders, the just newly announced Splatoon, Raiders, Duskbloods, and that's just the rest of the games that we know about so far for this year and next year. We haven't even had a direct where we know that there's going to be even more new announcements. And then on top of that, we know that we have incredible games to look forward to in the next 3D Mario, the next huge 3D open world Zelda, the next big game from Monolith. What are they going to be able to do with this system? That has me so excited. The next Fire Emblem, the next franchise revival. There's just so much that we know that we have to look forward to, that to me, I already knew that the Switch 2 was going to be worth it for me day one and for the future. So why wait for the future when I can be enjoying things from day one? But what about you? How's your first week with the Switch 2 been? And did you find it to be worth it for you from day one? Or had you held off on the Switch 2 because you didn't think it was worth it for you yet? And what would make it worth it for you to get it? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to see even more games that I'm excited for, that I'm looking forward to on the Switch 2, you can check out this video right here. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you later. Have a good one. Peace.